Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are the Lions.
The Indians took game 2 of this 3-game series behind Justin Masterson, who was just plain nasty in getting his first win of the season. Next up, Corey Kluber, who will look to keep the White Sox bats in check today. Defense could be the key, and a solid day in the field could lead to a Tribe sweep. Next on Sports Time Ohio. It's a beautiful sunny day in downtown Cleveland as the Indians look to put the brooms to their friends from the Windy City. Tribe going for a 3-game sweep of the White Sox right here at Progressive Field. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Tribe has won 8 straight at home right now against the Chicago White Sox. They continue to have some kind of spell over Chicago when it comes to playing them, especially here in Cleveland. 20-5 over the last 2 years. Last night, Justin Masterson got it done. Today, they'll look to Corey Kluber to maybe continue that role of starting pitching.
This will be Kluber's second start against the White Sox this year. And in his last start out in the West Coast against the Angels, he struggled a little bit. 4 2/3 innings, gave up 8 hits and walked 4. And he's not a guy that walks a lot of hitters. But at home, the Indians have won 10 of his last 12 starts. He is 2-1 at home this year. He's 2-1 in his career against the Chicago White Sox. He will be matched up against Andre Rienzo, who is 2-0 this year. He made his very first start against the Indians last year. Pitched pretty well in that ball game.
2 starts ago, Corey Kluber authored the first complete game victory of his career right here at Progressive Field. We'll see if he can dominate the Chicago lineup as the Indians try to sweep Chicago right on out of town and hopefully extend their win streak to 3 in a row, which will be their longest of the year. The play-by-play is next. McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. Buy Paninis. Get overstuffed at Panini's Bar and Grill. and by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. And a beautiful sunny day here at the ballpark as we get ready for baseball. The Indians starting lineup for Terry Francona brought to you by Progressive. Nyjer Morgan in the top spot. Let's go White Sox first. Okay, Alejandro De Aza in the leadoff spot. Then it's Gordon Beckham, followed by Jose Abreu, Adam Dunn, Diane Viciedo, and Alexei Ramirez in the middle. Then it's Jordan Danks, Tyler Flowers, and Lurie Garcia. Corey Kluber, 2 starts ago, he went the distance with a complete game victory. Last time out, he didn't get out of the 5th inning. And a first pitch strike to De Aza, who is 3 for 8 in the series.
Yeah, both Corey's wins have come in this ballpark this year. He's made 3 starts.
Swung out and missed, and the count quickly 0-2. Now the 2-strike delivery. Just missed outside with a cutter. Trying to bring it over the outside edge, but just off.
Yeah, it's off. He's got that backdoor breaking ball that he can bring in there and wrap it around. And
there's a fastball for strike 3 called. De Aza crowding the plate. He had no swinging room if he wanted to.
Well, I know, he's on that dish, but Corey's got that pitch that comes back, that comeback fastball that's electric to left-handers, and he gets his first strikeout, 36th on the year. That's a pitch that's very effective for him.
He's walked only 10 in his 37 innings of work, and as you mentioned last time out, uncommon that we saw, 4 walks?
4 walks and 8 hits in 4 2/3 innings. He's a guy, though, he may give up a few more hits because he doesn't walk as many guys, but the bottom part of the lineup, when you look at hitters 5 through 9, they're hitting .388 off him. That's amazing to me.
Swing and a miss by Beckham. 1-1 to count. Gordon Beckham 2 for 8 in the series. Fouled back out of play. George Kottaras behind the plate this afternoon for the Indians. Yan Gomes on the paternity list. Carlos Santana caught last night's game, and George Kottaras was down at AAA. He's been with the Red Sox in the past, so obviously a familiarity there with he and Terry Francona. So Kottaras getting the start here today. Broken bat or slow roller. Cabrera flips it over, and he got him for out number 2.
Let's take a look at the Indians' defense presented by Kia this afternoon. It'll be Brantley in left. Morgan is in center. Murphy in right. Santana at third. Cabrera at short. Ramirez is at second. Swisher at first. Kottaras behind the plate. The Indians have made an error in 5 straight games. And here's our GMC pitcher this afternoon, Corey Kluber. Kluber's his second start against the White Sox, pitched a really good game his first time out in Chicago with a no decision, went 7 1/3 and gave up 8 hits.
Jose Abreu 1 for 9 in the series. That one hit was a towering home run that landed onto the home run porch and left. But other than that one swing of the bat, the Indians have been very effectively pitching to Abreu.
Yes, they really have. They got him on 4 strikeouts, all swinging, 3 ground outs and a fly out.
Now Kluber's 2-0 pitch. Fouled that one off of his leg, and he'll hop around. 2-1.
Looks like he's throwing that 4-seamer into the right-handers, and he fouled it right off his front toe. He got inside on Beckham on the ground out.
Game time temperature here today, 56 degrees. Just a light breeze blowing in from left out toward right. 2-1 pitch. Hit well to deep left field. And that's going to go. Abreu with his second home run of the series. And all Brantley could do was watch it go. 12th home run of the year for Jose Abreu and RBI number 34.
Well, how about that? He fouled the last one off his toe, and he makes the adjustment. He stepped out. Looked like the pitch was inside to him, but he really turned on. I want to see if he gets it in there. Tell you what, that ball ran inside. That might have been a little bit in off the plate. Look how he pulls the hands in. That's really a terrific job of hitting. He had the count in his favor. He certainly had to be looking in there because he gets it out in a hurry. Home run number 12, third that Kluber has given up.
His major league leading 12th home run. Upstairs to Adam Dunn.
The Sox in the series, right-handed batters hitting just 186 coming into this game. They were 8 for 43.
2 balls and a strike. And the 2-1. Up and away. 3 balls and a strike. Dunn has gone 3 for 8 in the series with a double. Jose Abreu not only leads all of Major League Baseball in home runs, but also in runs batted in now with 34. Dunn draws a 2-out walk, and the inning stays alive. Keys to the game brought to you by Akron Children's Hospital. Offensively, the Indians broke out on Friday night with 12 runs. Yesterday, they were held to just 2, but it was enough to get the win. Dayan Viciedo 0 for 7 in the series. The Indians have pitched him very well. He came in on a roll offensively, swinging the bat. Had a pretty good clip.
Well, Tank, that's his nickname. I'll tell you what, he's built like a tank. The ball jumps off his bat, and he's off to a very good start. He can drive it to right center. You make a mistake, you can also pull it at any part of the ballpark.
Hit to center, but room for Nyjer Morgan. And the inning is over. Jose Abreu, with his major league leading 12th home run of the year, has Chicago out to the early lead. The Indians are coming to bat. Brought to you by Progressive. Nyjer Morgan will lead it off. followed by Nick Swisher. Michael Brantley hitting third. Then it's Carlos Santana, Lonnie Chisenhall, and Asdrubal Cabrera, David Murphy, Jose Ramirez, and George Kottaras.
25-year-old native from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Andre Rienzo making his third start this year. He went at least 6 innings in his first 2 starts, and he is 2-0. Made his very first major league start here against the Indians last year. July 30th.
Morgan chops one on the ground to second. And Gordon Beckham throws him out, 1 away.
Let's take a look at the White Sox defense presented by Kia. In the outfield will be DeAsa. Danks is in center. Viciedo in right. Garcia gets the start at third this afternoon. Ramirez is at short. Beckham at second. Abreu is at first with Flowers doing the catching. And they have committed an error in 7 straight games. These are the 2 of the worst fielding teams in the league.
Nick Swisher steps in here with 1 out in the first. Takes low ball 1. Swisher leads the Indians with 8 doubles on the year. In the series, he's gone 1 for 5 and has drawn 3 walks. Upstairs with a fastball. Slowly chopped foul. Andre Rienzo was called up on April the 19th. He made 1 appearance out of the bullpen, and now his 3rd straight start. He was not exactly setting the world on fire down at AAA Charlotte for the White Sox and said he did not expect to get called up. Now the payoff pitch to Swisher. Hit hard to first, but right there to grab it is Abreu. 2 down. For the Indians, Nick Hagedorn, he was here less than 24 hours. Sent back to AAA Columbus. Nyjer Morgan called up. The Indians are very thin right now when you consider that both Michael Bourne and Jason Giambi are down, but day to day. And there's optimism that Michael Bourne could be right back in the lineup tomorrow. So thus the roster move made. I mean, it's one thing when you put a guy on a DL. But when you don't DL somebody, but you can't really use them, that really shortens your bench.
It sure does.
Michael Brantley, 4 for 9 in the series with a home run. He leads the Indians in homers and runs batted in. With 2 down, Rienzo's 1-0 pitch is in there for a strike. Rienzo said he did not expect to be called up by Chicago because in his 3 starts at AAA, he was 0-2 with a 4.84 ERA. That may not sound all that bad, but in 13 innings, he gave up 7 runs, 15 hits, and 7 walks.
Yeah, but they did, they saw him. He made 10 starts for him last year, so they pretty much knew about this guy. And when you got to go down there and make a decision because of some injuries, you got to go to people you can rely on.
Popped him up. Shallow left field. In comes DeAza. And the Indians go 1-2-3. After an inning, it's Chicago 1, Cleveland nothing. Brought to you by your Northeast Ohio Honda dealers. By the Cleveland Clinic. Call today for an appointment today. And by the Northeast Ohio Ford dealers. White Sox lead at 1-0 as we go to the second inning. Alexei Ramirez lifts one in the air to left field. And Brantley comes in to grab it for out number one. Injury report today brought to you by the attorneys at Elk and Elk. So here's some of the up-to-date injuries. Talked about Bourne and Giambi day-to-day. David Freese down with the finger injury. He was swinging it really well when we saw the Angels in Anaheim. Ryan Braun, an oblique injury. No one immune to the DL this year, it seems.
You're right. That seems like
Star
more and
players,
more. I mean, a month
players,
into it. Right.
Starters, relievers.
Players you see that are on it every year, like Brandon Morrow. He's back on it again.
Jordan Danks cuts and misses, and the count quickly 0-2. It's interesting. I was looking at the numbers today and how close the Indians and White Sox are in record. Half game separates them in record.
Right.
Both teams have almost identical records home and away. Just missed inside.
Well,
and then you figure out
different ways they're going about it.
Yeah, and then both teams lose their center fielder. One goes on the DL, one's day-to-day. All in the same series.
Well, the White Sox are doing it by scoring runs. The Indians are doing it more by pitching.
2-2 the count on Danks.
But the White Sox haven't had a whole lot of luck in this ballpark. They've lost 8 straight games. And you go back, would you say, in the open 20 and 5?
20 and 5 last 2 years now, overall. Danks in there because Adam Eaton injured his hamstring in the series opener, but it was severe enough that he had to be placed on the 15-day DL.
Yeah, and he had issues prior to that, and he was the table setter for the offense. He's a good player.
Danks called out on strikes. 2 down, second strikeout for Kluber. With more on the Indians walking wounded, let's go downstairs and get the latest from Katie Witham.
Matt, you mentioned both Jason Giambi and Michael Bourne listed as day-to-day. Well, Terry Francona said both came in feeling very good today. In fact, Jason Giambi's calf is well enough that we may see him pinch hit later in this game if need be. And the training staff is optimistic enough that Michael Bourne could be back in the lineup tomorrow. Terry Francona did mention, though, it is a concern that this is the third time Bourne's dealing with those hamstring issues.
Yeah, you don't want that lingering all year long.
Well, especially when he makes his living with his legs. I mean, he's a guy that's got to be able to run them down in the outfield and get on base and run. Hit the left center off the end of the bat, and in comes Michael Brantley to make the catch. And the White Sox go quickly here in the second. It took Corey Kluber just 9 pitches to set him down 1-2-3. It's on this Sunday afternoon. Tribe trailing the White Sox 1-0 as we go to the bottom half of the second. It'll be Santana, Chisenhall, and Cabrera. Cuts and misses. Santana 2 for 8 in the series. 2 hits, a double, and a homer.
Yeah, that's the pitch I remember he had last year, the curveball. Also the fastball, a cutter. But the curveball was the pitch that impressed me about him last year.
Now the 1-2 pitch. There's that curveball hit high in the air to right field, but not going to travel. Viciedo is under it, and that's out number 1. Remember, you can tweet your photos to us to have a chance for it shown in one of our upcoming telecasts. Use the hashtag STOFanPhoto. It's all courtesy of AT&T. One down for Lonnie Chisenhall. The White Sox say that Rienzo has lowered his arm slot slightly in the hopes of getting more movement on his pitches, and perhaps that had something to do with his struggles at AAA. Robin Ventura said, well, you get called back to the big leagues, and knowing that these guys can hurt you if you don't get it in the zone and you start putting guys on base, he's hopeful that that will sort of shock Rienzo into throwing more strikes and challenging hitters, and that's what we've seen here, at least from the outset here today.
You know, as I mentioned, it's his 3rd start against the Indians. They don't have a big book on him, but some guys have faced him before and have pretty good numbers against him. Not an overpowering guy. You know, he's 90, maybe a little better than 90. He's got the cutter and that curveball. 2 groundouts, 2 flyouts to this point.
Lonnie Chisenhall fouls it right back over the screen. 1 for 3 with a double in the ball game last night. Pitches off the plate to even the count of 2-2. And out of play once again. Chisenhall putting up a pretty good fight here with 1 out in the second. He's going the same spot almost every time. Wow, nice grab.
Yeah, he just stood right up and caught it. Souvenir. There you go. Nicely done. No glove.
No glasses needed. 9th pitch of the at-bat for Lonnie Chisenhall. Before it's made, Flowers says, let's talk this one over. Hard smash to short, and Ramirez will throw him out 2 down.
Well, follow every Indians game with MLB.com @bat on your favorite mobile phone or tablet. Get live look-ins, instant replay, audio, scores, the free MLB TV Game of the Day, and more. Download on the App Store or visit Indians.com.
Now is Drupal Cabrera. He's gone 2 for 6 in the series. Down in the dirt. Up and away, 3-0. David Murphy would be next. Gets in the strike zone. 3-1. Cabrera, homer, 7 RBIs on the year to go along with 6 doubles. And now the count goes full. And the payoff pitch is ball 4. And a 2-out base runner for the Tribe here in the second. David Murphy comes up trying to snap in 0 for 6. Murphy, a career .275 hitter against Chicago pitching.
He's not happy with the baseball. Just give me a new one. He just threw it to their dugout. That was a good pitch. So it's like it could be a cutter or a slider, maybe a true slider. You know what I'm saying, Matt? That one goes down.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much a true slider.
There's a fastball, and Murphy fouls it away. Count 1-2. Well, Drupal Cabrera with 3 steals on the year. Second on the team in that category. 35th pitch of the game for Rienzo. And Murphy swats it foul. Murphy has batted .291 against right-handed pitching. Both of his home runs have come off right-handers. His RBIs are split in half. 9 against lefties, 9 against righties. He punches that one up the middle. Cabrera's going to turn and head to third. No throw from Viciedo, and the Indians have him at the corners with 2 down here in the second.
Boy, he has a knack where he keeps his hands back. He's got very good hands as a hitter. You know, I mean, he'll go down and get it. He'll pick it up off the ground, and he keeps that bat in the hitting area long enough to put it in play. And he just lines it up. You see, sometimes with no stride, he just keeps his hands back enough, and then that little breaking ball, he slaps into right field. Cabrera with 2 outs hustling to get to third. So He walked Cabrera, so it's his own fault. Now he's got to try and dig his way out of trouble here. Got the first 2 hitters easily.
We'll see if Jose Ramirez can deliver and give the Indians an early run here today. Tribe down 1-0. Solo homer by Jose Abreu for Chicago. Rienzo making a lot of pitches now after he had 2 outs to start. But remember, Chisenhall had a very long, was a 10-pitch at bat. High fly ball left field. Pretty routine play, though. And De Aza will make the catch. No runs a hit. 2 men left. And after 2, it's the White Sox 1, the Indians nothing.
Your vote matters. Vote yes on issue 7. Issue 7 is not a tax increase, but it helps Cleveland strong. Don't forget to vote yes on issue 7. That'll all take place on Tuesday.
For Chicago here in the 3rd inning, Lurie Garcia will lead it off. Then it's Alejandro De Aza and Gordon Beckham. Garcia, switch hitter, batting .259. Swings at the first pitch and lines it into left field for a base hit. It's going to bring up Alejandro De Aza, who's leading off with Adam Eaton on the DL. And with more on that, here's Katie Witham.
Well, Indians pitching coach Mickey Callaway said that Adam Eaton is one of the biggest differences you see in the Chicago White Sox lineup. And he said pitching to him, he's such a pest. Not only does he have the speed, but also the ability to see a lot of pitches, which is very draining on a starter. And the Indians are just relieved they don't have to see him anymore.
Well, the problem for Adam Eaton is nothing to do with his ability. I mean, he is kind of that guy at the top of the lineup that can give a team a spark. He's got speed. He is pesky. But this is 4 years in a row now where he has landed on the disabled list.
Well,
and a lot of it has to do with the way he plays the game. Twice it's been because of concussions, also an elbow strain, and now the hamstring problem.
Well, he is. He plays the game very, very hard, and he's all out, 100%, it seems like, all the time.
De Aza bunts it hard back to the pitcher's mound. Kluber will take the out at first. And Garcia into scoring position. Well, Rick, there are some guys, and we talked about this when we were in Anaheim. When you're a Josh Hamilton, a middle-of-the-order hitter, take the money out of the equation. When you're counting on to be in the lineup every day to drive in runs,
right,
to be one of the thumpers, you have to think a little bit more before you go diving into walls or doing certain things. For Adam Eaton, that is his game.
That's his style.
That's how he has to play to be effective.
Yeah.
So there's two different
mindsets.
Yeah, exactly.
You're absolutely right when it comes to that. You need those big boppers. The guys that drive in runs, they're the guys that get paid every day. Those guys that get on base and set the table, hey, they're very, very valuable. But to be that valuable, they got to play that way.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to drive in runs, so their job is to score runs. But Eaton, that's why they're off to a good start offensively. Everything's clicked. It makes everything easier, and they've had guys in the middle thirds of each part, 1 through 3, 3 through 4 through 6, and 7 through 9, doing something in that lineup. It seems like every day.
Gordon Beckham grounded out his first time up. And Kluber throws it by him. Indians shut out Chicago last night.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they've been able to pitch out of some jams, too. White Sox are 0 for their last 15 with a runner in scoring position in the series. And remember, that includes some extra opportunities because of a few errors made defensively by Cleveland.
They've done a good job holding this offense in check in the series.
Swung on and missed. He strikes him out, 2 down. Third strikeout for Kluber. Let's take a look now at our stat of the game. It's brought to you by Buick. 30 for 30, not exactly what the Indians had in mind defensively this year.
No, you never, ever want to make errors, but they're making some pretty fundamental errors. I mean, that should be made. Pitchers have 3 errors. Yan Gomes has 7 behind the plate with his throwing this year. The infield has 18. At first base, 4. Second base, 5. Shortstop, 4. Third base, 5. It's been a rough year. They've got to tighten it up.
Jose Abreu accounting for the only run of the game so far with a solo homer in the first.
Be careful here.
Good pitch.
He pulled his hands in. Watch that. He pulled it in on a 2-seam fastball on the inside corner, maybe inside off the plate. He roped it. That was a 2-1 count. And this guy's very strong. That's his 4th home run against the Indians.
Off the end of the bat foul, and the count 1-2. Lurie Garcia, the runner at second base with 2 down in the third. Kind of shows you the amount of respect that Abreu is already getting. A 1-2 count. Corey Kluber was going to make sure that ball did not miss on the plate.
Well, I wouldn't even throw him a strike the rest of the time. If you happen to walk him, you walk him.
Full count.
That's the price. When you get ahead of him, then you try and get him to swing at your pitch. But the last 2 pitches there by Kluber weren't close enough for him to try and swing at, to get him to chase. He's throwing that hard cutter. I would like to see him throw a slow breaking ball to see him chase after.
And the 3-2 pitch. Fastball swung on and missed. He strikes him out. Back-to-back punch-outs for Kluber, 4 in the game, and the White Sox strand a runner in scoring position. Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Leading off is George Kottaras. Kottaras was not with the Indians in spring training. He was with the Kansas City last year, and then he went to spring training with the Chicago Cubs. And he signed with the Indians April 3rd as a minor league free agent.
I think I remember him hitting a pretty big home run against the Indians last year when we were in Kansas City.
Up and in. Kottaras, a native of Canada. Takes a look. It's down and in.
Well, from 0-2 to 3-2.
Hard hit grunt ball, deep right field. Back is Viciedo, and it is gone. George Kottaras, in his first at bat as a Cleveland Indian, sends one out of here to tie the game at 1.
Oh, welcome to Cleveland, George. How about that? He got him. He was down 0-2, worked it to 3-2. Look at that. That puts a smile on your face. And we have a tie ball game. That looked like it might have been a little cutter.
And now Nigel Morgan lays down a bunt. Rienzo's throw is in time because I don't know what happened to Morgan, but he went down in a heap.
Well, you watch when he throws the bat down, it ends up getting caught up in his footing. It hit his back leg, and that's why it knocked him off balance. Absolutely.
I was watching Rienzo field the bunt, and I looked up and saw Morgan tumbling down into the grass.
You watch the bat. He held it, and he throws it in the air. There it is.
Oh, my goodness.
And it knocked him off balance, and he goes down, goes Morgan.
Wow, that bat, it hit him up 2 or 3 different times, didn't it?
It seemed like it.
That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing.
Game tied at 1 on the home run by George Kottaras. Swisher looks, it's outside. Swisher a hard smash to second, and Beckham from the outfield grass will throw him out. 2 down.
There it is. That was a little breaking ball. That cutter inside and middle end, and he gets it. And it was high and right into their bullpen. Boy, that a way to come up. Your first at bat, hit a homer. That has to feel good. It ties the game, too.
No doubt about it. Two down for Michael Brantley, who flied to left his first time up. Up the middle it goes, and off the glove of Beckham for a 2-out single. And that's the Indians' second 2-out hit of the ball game. And once again, it keeps the inning alive here in the third.
Well, this ball hit sharply, and Beckham going to his right. It goes off his glove. You know, he would have had a tough time getting up to throw Brantley out, I think. But he doesn't catch it cleanly, so it doesn't matter. Third hit for the Indians.
Carlos Santana flying to right his only time up. Ball's in the dirt. Brantley had a notion, but he watched the way that ball carrying right out in front of Flowers and figured he wasn't going to get there.
Yeah, he did a nice job of just keeping it right in front of him. He's pretty quick to home plate, too, so you're not going to get a jump off this pitcher.
This is up high, and it's 3-0. Lonnie Chisenhall would be next. Here's the 3-0. And a strike. Brantley draws a throw. Upstairs, ball 4. Brantley to second. 2 on, 2 out for Lonnie Chisenhall.
Well, May 16th, we will return home from the road. The Oakland A's will be in town. It'll be our second Dollar Dog night of the year. Hot dogs all night long. Visit Indians.com for your tickets.
Meeting on the mound, Alexei Ramirez, the shortstop, coming in to talk with Rienzo. Tyler Flowers also up there, the catcher.
Yeah, he's had a tough time once getting to 2 outs and getting through innings.
Well, in last inning, it was this guy, Lonnie Chisenhall, that put him through the paces. It was 10 pitches. He kept fighting him off. Finally got him to ground out on a hard hit ball to short. But that's another reason why his pitch count is at 55 already. And now Chisenhall looking to do some 2-out damage.
Yeah, and 24 of those pitches have come to get the 3rd out. That's I think the 3rd time today I've seen him just throw a ball to the other side of the dugout and get a new one. So he may not be happy with the way the baseballs are rubbed up today.
Bloop toward left. It's dropping. It's in for a hit. Brantley around third. He's going to score, and the Indians take the lead. Lonnie Chisenhall with a 2-out RBI single to left. Gives him just his 2nd RBI on the year.
Well, again, it comes to left field. This is going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. I love the 2-out base hits. I don't care when they come or how they come, but that loosens up the rest of this lineup. In comes Brantley. They had 2 outs, and then you get the single, the walk, and now another single, and they'll take a 2-1 lead.
I had to go back and look that up because as many hits as Lonnie has, it's hard to believe that's only his 2nd RBI.
Well, he's been hitting down in the lineup, and, there was nobody on base.
Exactly.
A lot of times when he's been getting base hits, he's been hitting with the bases empty. Hey, even though that's a little flare to left field, that's a thing of beauty.
No doubt. Now as Drupal Cabrera was swinging for the fences, and Rienzo really took something off, and Cabrera way out in front. He drew a walk his first time up.
That's what amazes me about his Drupal. Now, you get up there in this count, and you have a guy in scoring position. You got to be looking fastball, but you swing at the breaking ball. That's one of the toughest pitches to hit, and he helps him out. Now he's down in the count.
Well, the way he swung, it looked like he had his mind made up. He was swinging no matter what it was.
But swing at the pitch you're looking for. You're not swinging at everything. Pick one pitch. Now, if he was looking for the curveball and he can honestly tell me that, I'd say fine. But I don't think he's looking for a curveball first pitch. Not with runners in scoring position. You want to try and drive the ball.
Now he's got to dig himself out of an 0-2 hole as Rienzo about to make his 60th pitch of the game. So that will put him on an average of 20 per inning. And he strikes out Cabrera on 3 pitches. But the Indians get a jolt from the new guy, George Kottaras, and a 2-out RBI flip from Chisenhall. They lead it 2-1. What's different about the Tribe this homestand? Find out about Tito's commute to the ballpark and Jim Brown on the direction the Browns are taking. It's all on FoxSportsOhio.com. Adam Dunn takes the breaking ball down low for ball one. Dunn drew a walk his first time up.
Let's send along a very special birthday wish today. Mildred Kuhlman is turning 100 years old today. The family in town here to celebrate. So, Mildred, very happy birthday to you.
The 1-1 pitch. 2 balls and a strike now for Dunn. Dunn on the 3-1 pitch, pulls it foul. Well, the count goes full.
Well, and a special welcome home to Daniel Taylor of North Royalton. He returns home today after a 9-month tour on the USS Rampage out in the Mediterranean. He is watching the Tribe game today, and he is eating pizza at home with wife Jenny. So, Daniel, a very special welcome home.
Congratulations. Yeah, great to have you back. I wonder if Chris James is sitting at home eating pizza today.
Oh, is this Oakland? 9 ribbies? Yeah. The date? May 4th?
May 4th, 1991.
I'll remember that forever now because tomorrow's our buddy's birthday.
That's
Cinco de
right.
Mayo,
Yeah.
Charlie Nagy.
Yeah. Fouled back. One of the most impressive performances in Indians history when you consider that the A's were coming off that 1990 season in which they were unbeatable in the American League. They ended up getting smoked by Cincinnati in the World Series that year, but boy, they could beat up some teams with that offense they had. Down a swing and a miss, and Kluber comes back to strike him out. But on this day in 1991, Chris James just torched Oakland. 9 runs batted in.
Yeah, that's a day you'll never forget. Oh, excuse me. Give me
God
some more
alone.
ribbies.
That's when you know it's your day,
Give
right?
me some more ribbies. Couple homers, couple RBIs. There was Albert, Joey Bell.
Diane Viciedo fly to center his only time up back in the first. I mean, you think about it. You have 5 RBIs in a game now. That's a big day.
Any day. You're right. I mean, you have multiple RBI games. That's a good day, is right. But when you have 9, that's
a week.
That's special. Yeah, it is. That could be a half a month or a month for some guys. That is your day.
Oh, that looked like an awfully good pitch. Viciedo might have caught a break. That could have easily been strike 3.
You know what? It's a great pitch.
Just
even though it's
outside.
not called, it's still a great pitch, and he didn't offer at it. That's the pitch that he was able to get Abreu to swing at on the full count. Yes,
he went
did
that
there.
time, I believe. Yes, he did, says the crew chief, Tom Hallion. And that is now 4 straight strikeouts for Corey Kluber. 2 down in the inning.
Watch this. This puts more tilt on it. Look at that. That's a bigger break, and he started instead of that hard slider or that cutter that he throws, and he certainly did go. No question about it.
Isn't that something how that works, though? And I wonder, in talking about big leagues, you take that pitch before, which would look like it was not even a ball width off the plate. And then you swing at that pitch, it's not even close.
Well, it's got more tilt to it. It's slower, and you figure he's going to throw it again. Well, it's a different break to it. So you already commit to go out and get it. It tricks your mind because he went out there and then
looks
he
like
chose
the same pitch.
Yeah, and
but
it's something different. Right. On the same plane, different tilt, a little slower.
Alexei Ramirez flied to left his only time up. Kluber is in a pretty good groove right here, 0-2. You can see Ramirez. Those hands started, but he was able to quickly stop.
This is one of the best two-strike hitters in the league right now and has been all year long. So this will be a very good matchup here. Kluber's been in a pretty nice rhythm.
Swing and a miss. He went fishing for one on the dirt. Corey Kluber strikes out the side. He's fanned 5 socks in a row. And the Indians lead it 2-1.
Well, after this next road trip down to Tampa and Toronto, we are going to break out the firework nights out here at Progressive Field. They will take place on May 16th, May 17th, the Friday and Saturday. The Oakland A's will be in town. Friday's fireworks will be set to the best of Bruce Springsteen. And then on Saturday, it's going to be set to the 80 hair metal bands. Can't wait. Visit Indians.com for your tickets.
All right, we go now to the bottom of the 4th, and David Murphy to lead it off. Bottom 3rd for the Indians here. Murphy, then Jose Ramirez and George Kottaras. Big curveball misses up high for ball 1. Hit in the air to center field. Back a few steps is Danks, and now in. 1 away. Time now for a Mazda game break. We go back to the studios and Al Pawlowski.
Matt, Rick, one of the most exciting plays in baseball happened in the 3rd inning in New York. Will Myers, deep drive to right center. Ellsbury goes up for it, can't get it, hits off the top of the wall, ricochets away from him, stays in the park, and that means that inside the park, 3-run homer for Will Myers, his 4th of the year. Tampa now leads Sabathia and the Yankees 4-1, 3rd inning in New York. Matt?
All right, ball 1 to Jose Ramirez, who flied to left his only time up back in the 2nd. Pitch inside, 2-0. And up again, 3 balls, no strikes. And a strike at the knees. Hit pretty well to center, but again, Jordan Danks barely has to move. 2 down. That's going to bring up George Kottaras, who homered in his first at-bat as an Indian in the 3rd inning. Got the Indians on the board, and then with 2 outs, they got an RBI hit to take the lead.
He was down in that at-bat 0-2 as well. Came back to hit the 3-2 pitch out of here.
George Kottaras grew up in Canada, as I mentioned before. His parents are both from Greece. Played for Greece in the World Baseball Classic, but I love the story. When he made his major league debut for Terry Francona in Boston, got called up, so he gets into the game for the Red Sox. His mom and dad were out shopping at a local department store in Toronto. They were walking through the furniture section, and his mom saw on the TV her son.
Get out of here.
So mom and dad, they took a seat in a couple of recliners and watched the rest of the game in the department store. Yeah.
How great is that? They were showing the game in Toronto?
George said they were there for about an hour and a half sitting in the recliners watching the game.
I thought you were going to tell me
he
they
drives
bought
another
the
one.
recliners.
Deep right field again. Viciedo's out of room. It's out of here.
I hope his parents are in recliners now.
Gyros for everyone. George Kottaras with his 2nd home run of the ball game.
That is amazing. What a great trot around the bases for him. Look at that. Hey, you don't think you're going to endear yourself to your teammates, getting up your first 2 at-bats and hitting solo homers? That is just absolutely great.
Pitch down low to Nigel Morgan, who's 0 for 2. Morgan rips one down the right field line. He won't have to worry about tripping over the bat this time. He's on the move and into second base easily with a stand-up double. So the Indians doing some 2-out damage here this afternoon.
Yeah, they've been very good. He's had to work harder getting that 3rd out of the inning of anything. Well, he threw that bat out of the way so it wasn't going to get around his feet this time. He threw it 5 feet to his right. Oh, that's beautiful. I bet he took some abuse in the dugout, too.
The Indians have now gone 5 for 8 with 2 outs in the ball game, including the 2-out homer by Kottaras here in the 4th to make it 3-1 Indians. Pitch outside. Outside to count 2-0. Send it down to Katie with him, who has more on Nigel Morgan's return to the Tribe.
You can't tell it from looking at him, Matt, but Nigel Morgan has been up since 3 this morning so he could jump on a flight and get here to Cleveland. He has been a bundle of energy ever since. The first thing he did was give Terry Francona a big hug. And Francona commenting, I love the way this guy can make an immediate impact, and he sure has.
Well, Morgan was a breath of fresh air in spring training as far as, he played with a lot of energy for a veteran guy who's been around. He had the bounce in his step like he was a kid trying to make his first team as a rookie. 3-1 pitch. And it's ball 4. The inning stays alive. Swisher draws the walk. It's his 4th walk in the series. Don Cooper, the pitching coach, going to make a visit to the mound.
You know, you were talking about Morgan. When they sent him out, he was playing very well. You know, it was just that Michael Bourne was ready to come off the DL and play, but Morgan was playing very well and had an impact in this offense.
And he handled it the right way, too. I mean, it would be easy to understand, hey, if you're a veteran guy, you're kind of upset. You know, what did I do to deserve this? He understood it's part of the business, but he went down to
and he's
Columbus.
Right back up here.
Last 4 games down there, he'd gone 6 for 19 with 3 doubles. 1 for 3 here today with a 2-out double, trying to turn that into a run if Michael Brantley can deliver now with 2 outs in the inning. Rienzo has had a tough time getting the 3rd out. He had 2 outs, nobody on base in the 2nd inning. Took him a lot of pitches. He wound up almost at 40 pitches before that inning was over. And if you take all 4 innings combined, after there were 2 outs, he's made 41 pitches.
Yeah. They really have made him work to get outs, no question. Over half his pitches.
Yeah. Now Brantley trying to deliver a 2-out hit. Low ball 1. Outside, 2-0. Brantley steps away. And Michael takes a strike to count 2-1.
No, he is not.
Hard hit ground ball to first, and Abreu does a nice job to get his body in front of it to stop it, and the inning is over. But George Kottaras is tearing it up. Has hit 2 home runs in the ball game, and the Indians lead it 3-1. The all-new Sunnyside Chevrolet in Elyria. Sunny will save you money. By Levin Furniture. And by Kia. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. 3-1 Indians on top. 5th inning. Bottom third of the White Sox order due here. Jordan Danks, Tyler Flowers, and Lurie Garcia. Corey Kluber has struck out 5 in a row. And a first pitch strike to Jordan Danks.
And he has been in a really good groove. That strikeout is working for him today.
So how about George Kottaras? The Indians signed him after spring training, so he hasn't worked with any of these pitchers.
Right.
And yet he comes up here today. He's hit 2 home runs, and Corey Kluber's slicing and dicing. He must feel like he's landing in baseball heaven right now.
Well, I'll tell you what. Sometimes it's better. You just come on up, and it's only a game. You know, how much do you have to know? You call what is working for this guy, and right now it seems like everything's working for Kluber. Let's not overthink it.
Swing and a miss. Another strikeout for Kluber. That's 8 in the ball game and 6 in a row.
Man, keep on rolling. There you'll see a good pitch down at the knees. Well, we witnessed Cologne's back in 2000. I think that was in Toronto. Chuck Finley had 6 in a row. Obviously, Bob Feller did.
I'm not sure, but I think Cologne's might have been to start the game, too, wasn't it?
It was, yes,
yeah.
It was. Well, that's pretty impressive. That's like Little League stuff.
Wow. He has got them befuddled.
They may get ready, Mikey. You may have to put a 7 in there. 0-2 count.
Now the 0-2.
See
Struck him out looking. Corey Kluber establishing a new mark for the Tribe.
How about that? I mean, dominating.
7 strikeouts in a row.
And I mean, it's been easy. Look at him. Some excellent locations, and he is just cruising. Wow. Fun to watch. And you're right. Think about it. What an afternoon for Kottaras back there. He's giving him the lead.
Corey Kluber just etched his name into the Indians' history book.
It may not be done yet.
He looks more dominant today, even though he's already given up a run, than he did in that complete game victory against Kansas City.
That's why when I tell you I'm amazed at when you look at what hitters are hitting off him, you know, lefties over 300, righties 292 coming into today's game. I don't see how he gives up that many hits with the kind of stuff he has. He's got great stuff. He's had 3 starts this year where he hasn't walked anybody. And that game, you remember in Kansas City, 11 strikeouts and 101 pitches in that ball game, and should have had a shutout if it wasn't for the defense. 10-0-2 and 1-2 counts today.
Now the 1-2. Fouled away. Well, I don't think they've put it up on the scoreboard, so the fans in the park, I don't think they know yet that Corey Kluber has established a new Indians record.
They may wait and do it.
But they've seen enough of these strikeouts in a row to know he's got a special game going on. Yeah. The line and the 1-2.
Oh,
just missed outside.
You got to give it to him there, don't you, when you're on a roll like that? Or was it that far outside? I got to look at it. Let's take a look. If I'm back there, that's a strike. If I'm the umpire, you get caught up into the way he's been dealing, but I give him credit.
Now a full count. Garcia slapped a base hit to left. His first time up. That's the last man to reach in this game for Chicago. And the payoff pitch is fouled away.
Tell you what, give Garcia credit too. He's fouled off a couple tough pitches, and he took that one that could have very easily been called.
And the payoff pitch. Another foul back. That one nailed Kottaras in the mask. The payoff pitch. It's high, ball 4. So that snaps a string of 7 consecutive batters whiffed in this ball game. Corey Kluber owns the record now for the Indians. Now he'll deal with a runner at first and 2 down as Alejandro De Aza comes to the plate. De Aza looks at a strike.
Okay, you got it.
Runner goes. Pitch up high. Kottaras throw down. Not in time. And Garcia in with his 4th stolen base on the year.
Had a pretty good jump. You can see he's halfway down by the time Kottaras gets the ball, so it'll go as a stolen base for Garcia. His first of the year.
Now the 1-1. One-two pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Number 10 for Kluber. The Indians right-hander carving them up here today. The Indians lead it 3-1. Progressive Field, the Indians lead it 3-1. Carlos Santana, Lonnie Chisenhall, and Asdrubal Cabrera due up for the Tribe. Andre Rienzo has given up 2 solo homers to George Kottaras and a 2-out RBI single to Chisenhall, accounting for the Indians' runs so far in the game. But he has also made a lot of pitches.
He's really had a tough afternoon trying to get that third out of the inning.
Other than the first inning when he went 1-2-3, it has been a chore. One-two pitch, struck him out looking. Second K for Andre Rienzo, and as Lonnie Chisenhall comes up to the plate, Katie Chisenhall, Katie Witham has more on Lonnie Chisenhall's resurgence this year.
Matt, Lonnie Chisenhall really worked hard in the offseason and in the spring with hitting coach Ty Van Berkelio doing some mechanical adjustments. Specifically, they shortened up his swing and they also moved his hand position a little lower, allowing him to get behind the ball better. But the other difference that you see in Chisenhall that Van Berkelio noted, for the first time, he's confident and relaxed when he steps up to the plate.
Yeah, that's the thing that really jumps out at you this year, Katie, is that Lonnie Chisenhall, you would think maybe he's pressing because he's losing some playing time with Santana taking reps at third, but he's just been very confident, and he has swung the bat very well all season long. And there's another base hit in the left field.
Well, he is definitely staying on the baseball so much better this year than he has in the past. And, I mean, those line drives to left field look beautiful. Because when you start hitting breaking balls like that away, even though it might have been up a little bit, and you hit a line drive to left field, that'll force him to try and pitch you inside. You'll get pitches to turn on, and then that's when the power will start going, when you take those base hits away.
Now it's Dribble Cabrera, who walked in the second and then had a woeful at bat his last time up in the third. Pitch outside for ball one. Chicago with action in their bullpen. Zach Putnam, a former Indians pitcher, is getting loose. There is Putnam. Pitched a handful of games for the Indians back in 2011. Speaking of former Indians, bad news for our buddy Kevin Kuzminoff, who was playing really well for Texas when Adrian Beltre went down. He stepped in and showing that power, but looks like he's headed for back surgery now.
Oh, boy. He won Player of the Week there before he went on the disabled list.
Remember, that's where it all began for Kuzminoff. Travis Hafner went on the DL. He got called up, inserted into the lineup.
September 2nd.
Right in Texas, and grand salami.
That was the year of the salami for the Indians.
Yeah, what did Hafner have?
6.
Is that what it was before he went
had
down?
6. I think the team had 12. 12 or 13.
Was that the year Ben Broussard had a couple pinch hit jobs?
Must have been.
Lonnie Chisenhall running on the pitch. Ball hit in the air to center. Danks going to make the catch. Chiz has to retreat in a hurry. Here comes the throw back, and he'll get in safely. 2 down.
Well, you see, he's taken off, and he picks up the baseball, but he didn't pick it up to after he run at second base, so you have to re-tag the base. But he has time to get back.
David Murphy singled in the second, fly to center his last time up. Breaking ball in there for a strike, and the count 1-1. Outside, he missed. Indians leading at 3-1 here in the 5th inning. 1 on, 2 out. It's outside, 3-1.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me to see a walk here because that's the way it's gone with 2 outs in an inning for Rienzo. Did it in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
And if he walks him, it wouldn't surprise me if Robin Ventura goes to the bullpen. He walks him. 4th walk of the game issued by Rienzo. So the same problems that have been plaguing him at AAA have followed him to the big leagues. In this start, anyway, he had done a nice job in his first 2 starts. He'd only walked a total of 5 in his last 2 starts, but 4 free passes today. And that's going to do it. He'll leave with 2 on and 2 out here in the 5th inning. And on the short end of a 3-1 score. Our Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen. And it looks like it's going to be the former Indian, Zach Putnam, when we come back. Well, Thursday night, it all gets started. The NFL draft, and Bruce Drennan will be live at the Browns headquarters in Berea for up-to-the-minute reaction and analysis of their picks. It's all Thursday at 7:30 right here on Sports Time Ohio. Zach Putnam, a Michigan man. Indians' 5th-round pick in 2008 out of the University of Michigan. Wound up going to Colorado. Pitched with the Rockies, then with the Cubs, and now with the Chicago White Sox this year. He'll come on with 2 on and 2 out and facing the switch hitter, Jose Ramirez. Really turned out to be no surprise that Putnam went to pitch at the University of Michigan. After all, he grew up in Ann Arbor, went to high school in Ann Arbor. Zach went to the Rockies in exchange for Kevin Slowey back in January of 2012. Chopped to first base, and Abreu will take it himself. The inning is over. Indians strand a pair, but after 5, it's Cleveland 3, Chicago 1. You by AT&T, and remember, you can tweet your photos to us using the hashtag STOFanPhoto. Indians have the lead. They've got Corey Kluber on the hill, throwing 63% of his pitches for strikes. He's had 16 swings and misses so far in the ballgame. He has struck out 10 on the day and a franchise record 7 in a row at one point. Gordon Beckham 0 for 2 will be the batter. It's a weird game, though. It has the feel of an Indians blowout, like they should have an 8-0 lead, and yet it's still very tentative at 3-1.
Yo, it's a ball game, no doubt.
Ripped to third. Santana drops it, picks it up, and throws him out. One down. Jose Abreu is 1 for 2. This was the first at bat, a home run to the bleachers. But next time up, Rick, interesting.
Well, the first time up, he was ahead in the count, 2-1, and they tried to go inside. And there was a man on second in this at bat, and it was nothing but a steady dose of slider cutters away. And he ended up chasing that 3-2 pitch. He wouldn't take the walk, and Kluber got the strikeout.
Facing him here with the bases empty. Just above the belt. Wow. That ball had some wicked movement. Abreu thought it was going to be in the zone, and the bottom fell out of it.
You know, it has to be tough picking up the spin on that pitch today, because you see a lot of bad swings and a lot of misses. A lot of times as a hitter, you look for that little red dot on a slider or a cutter, and obviously they're not picking it up.
Swing and a miss again, 1-2.
They must think it's a fastball, and then all of a sudden at the last minute it breaks, and they don't see the spin to it.
Abreu asks for time and steps out. The 1-2. Swing and a miss. He's got him again. 11 Ks for Kluber. And that equals the career best of Corey Kluber.
Well, let's take a look on our Wendy slow motion replay of that little breaking ball. That right there it is. It has been devastating today. Second time this year he's punched out 11. And I think there's still more to come today.
Well, here's Adam Dunn. Looks outside. Dunn walked in the first, and he struck out in the fourth. And remember, Rick, that wasn't at bat, in which, if I remember right, it was 3-0. And it came all the way back to strike Dunn out. It was 3-1? 3-1. Same count for Dunn, 3-1. Ground ball. This is Cabrera with the shift on. 1-2-3 go the White Sox. Corey Kluber breezes through the sixth. 3-1 Indians. Here at Progressive Field, and a legend is born. George Kottaras has homered in each of his first two at-bats in this ball game, and he'll get a nice ovation from the crowd as he comes to hit for a third time.
Why not? It has been a great afternoon for him. Offensively, 2 for 2 with 2 RBIs, and he is catching Corey Kluber, who has 11 punch-outs to this point.
Pitch outside. Indians tell us that Kottaras is the first Canadian-born Indians player to hit a home run here since Nigel Wilson in 1996. And I was searching the memory banks, and I was coming up blank on Nigel Wilson. I don't remember him in the midst of all those great Indians teams.
I have to agree with you.
2 balls and a strike, the count on Kottaras. He played for Team Greece in the 2004 Olympics. And last year when he was in Kansas City, he and his teammate Mike Moustakas, they had the Greek flag flying in the Kansas City locker room. George said, I don't know how many times you've had 2 Greek guys in the same clubhouse on the same team, and they put us right next to each other.
Why wouldn't they?
3-1 pitch. Strike called. There's a story in the paper that when Kottaras played for Greece in the 2004 Olympics, someone asked Moustakas, well, why didn't you play with him? Moustakas said, I was only 14.
They wouldn't allow him.
3-2 pitch hit hard to first, backhanded by Abreu. And he flips it over for out number 1. Well, our game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Jose Abreu with a home run in the first inning, giving Chicago a 1-0 lead. It stayed that way until the third, when Kottaras blasts one out of here in his first at-bat as an Indian. Later in the inning, it was a 2-out RBI hit by Lonnie Chisenhall. Then in the fourth, George Kottaras does it again, homering in each of his first 2 at-bats as an Indian. And it's 3-1 Cleveland, thanks to the brilliant pitching by Corey Kluber once again here today. Nigel Morgan 1 for 3. He doubled his last time up. Kluber's pretty locked in.
Yeah. Does he have a pulse? Nothing bothers him, does it? He is locked in.
Down on the dirt. I'm figuring, based on his pitch count, he's got the 7th inning. But, then it's going to be an interesting situation what Terry Francona does if he continues to just mow him down. 1-2 count. 1 hopper to short. Oh, what a play by Alexei Ramirez. He looked like a hockey goalie in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
He is a very good defender out there at shortstop. And I mean, he's still in balance even though he's going down to the backhand side. You see, he wanted to time it. Exactly right. He did get down. He had his one hand where he can pop right up and make a throw. Very good shortstop. Good play. Alexei.
Rick, the reason I bring that up about Kluber is that, so 2 starts ago, he goes the complete game distance, gets the victory. And it's not like the pitch count was extraordinary. Yeah. But you wonder, does that have any after effect given that the next time out he didn't get through 5?
No, I don't think so. Command. He wasn't in the same rhythm. He didn't. I wouldn't think so. 101 pitches is not. He's ready for it. He's programmed for it. I think if you ask him, it's all a matter about command, and he's been dealing. He's had control of everything, just like he did in that start against Kansas City. I remember when he was pitching in that start, you'd say, boy, you don't get many starts like this throughout the course of the year where you can control everything. Well, he's doing it 2 out of the last 3 times.
And 1 bump in the road, he's come right back and
he's doing it in this ballpark. He hasn't done it on the road yet. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Swisher checks. It's a strike called, 1-2. Two down and the bases are empty here in the 6th. The Indians up 3-1. A 1-ball, 2-strike count for Swisher. And a chopper with the shift on. It'll be the shortstop Ramirez who throws him out. The Indians go 1-2-3 for just the second time in the ballgame, but they lead it 3-1. The bridge that's coming down to make way for the other new bridge. As you get a look from our Panini's overstuffed cam, I think they're going to blow that sucker up here pretty soon.
Oh, yeah?
They've been doing a lot of work, to remove all the concrete and ancillary pieces, parts, but I don't know if they're going to take it down piece by piece or if they're going to try to blow up the rest of it. Not sure.
What would you like to see them do?
Oh, I think
blow it up.
Yeah, blowing stuff up. That's always fun. Good. Yeah. Diane Viciedo 0 for 2. He has flied out, struck out. Swung out and missed. And a count 1-1.
Kluber has been so good today. He is at 20 swings and misses. That is a lot. They didn't miss that one.
That's only the third hit of the game for Chicago, and just their fourth base runner.
Let's see the location. That ball down the middle of the plate. Viciedo gets it right back up the middle. Boy, it's been something, though. You see him hit a ball and you go, holy cow. And you're used to seeing him all with strikeouts. He has 11 through 6 innings.
Brian Shaw is going to get up for the Indians in the pen. And Alexei Ramirez is going to step in here 0 for 2. Double play ball to short, maybe. Cabrera to second for 1, and they will turn the double play. Cabrera to Ramirez on to Swisher. And that quickly takes care of that. Our great clip of the game from yesterday, Justin Masterson. And he had some wicked movement and had White Sox flailing away.
He sure did. He's really gone out. He beat them 4 times last year and came back this year and didn't pitch very well against him, but he came back last night and he had great stuff.
Jordan Tanks way out in front of it. Justin told Jason Stanford and Al on the Indians Live before the game, he said, well, if it's tough for Santana to catch it, imagine how hard it is for those White Sox guys to hit it.
No kidding. You got to try and center around the baseball. Hard to do.
A little bit low, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Shaw begins to loosen. Out of play. Jordan Danks. 3 hits now in 37 at-bats on the year. Wow. Just missing. Count 2-2. Low and away. And the count goes full. Pitch number 100 for Kluber. Swing and a miss. A dozen strikeouts for Corey Kluber. Another brilliant performance by the Indians right-hander as the Tribe leads it 3-1, and we've reached the 7th inning stretch. Brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Life is hard. Buying a car shouldn't be.
Welcome to Cleveland, George.
Deep right field again. Viciedo's out of room. It's out of here. Gyros for everyone. Our Here Right Audiology sounds of the game, George Kottaras. Making his presence known here in Cleveland in his Indians debut. Since 1974, these are the Indians to homer in their first at-bat with the Indians. And as far as we have researched, he is the first Indian to ever homer in his first 2 at-bats with the club. And now pitching for Chicago is Ronald Belisario.
You know, and right now, with the White Sox bullpen just trying to keep it where it is, within striking distance. They're 2 runs down. Putnam came in and pitched an inning and a third and threw zeros up there, and now it's up to Belisario. And the Indians, if they could add anything on right about here, that would be a good thing to do. Just a 3-1 ball game.
There is George Kottaras. He grew up in Toronto. Very proud to be of Greek descent. And that's quite a debut. You think of how long the Indians have been playing baseball.
It's a fun afternoon, boy, for that young man.
Not to mention, and this is, again, baseball's a game that's built on numbers. We talk about stats. We throw them around a lot. You try to use them to analyze and predict and see what might happen. George Kottaras, in 9 games at AAA Columbus, was 2 for 25 at the plate. That's an .080 average.
Yeah.
But he comes in here today, and he's Babe Ruth.
That's the greatest thing about baseball, man. Every day is different.
Brantley, a hard hit ground at third. Lurie Garcia from the cut of the grass throws him out. Time once again for a Mazda game break. Back to the studios, and here's Al.
Well, Matt, the Tigers are a hot baseball team right now, and Nick Castellanos is a hot hitter. He leads the Tigers in runs batted in. This is his 18th of the year as he launches his 4th home run. Tigers have added another run in the 3rd. They lead Kansas City 2-0. Matt?
All right, thanks, Al. This will be Carlos Santana now with 1 out and the base is empty. One ball, one strike. Fouled away by Santana to even the count at 2-2. A little bit low and a full count. With 1 out, Santana awaiting the payoff pitch from Belisario. Had him reaching for it. 2 down.
Well, fans can come out and watch fireworks set to the 80s on May 17th, and the Indians will take on the A's here. And the first 10,000 fans will receive an Indians tote bag, which will be courtesy of the MLB Network.
Lonnie Chisenhall is 2 for 3 on the day. 2 singles, a run batted in. And that 2-out RBI hit was big back in the third inning because that put the Indians ahead, and they have not trailed since. Out of play on the left side. Pitch is outside, a ball and 2 strikes. Out of play again. Boy, that's, it's not just the hits, Rick, with Chisenhall that stands out this year, but it really is the quality of the at-bats. I mean, first time up he made an out, but it was a 10-pitch at-bat, and he fouled a number of balls off over there, same way he is in this at-bat.
Well, that means he's seeing the ball very well, and just by the hits by directions, he's using the whole field. Ouch.
He got hit. I think that one got away from Belisario, and the Indians have a 2-out base runner.
Well, there was no way of getting out of the way of this one. Look at that one, started right there, gets him in the back of the thigh. He'll get on base. The Indians have only had 3 innings, the first and the 6th.
Foul right back. Pitch outside. 2 balls and a strike. Now the 2-1 pitch to Cabrera. Runner goes, fouled away. Remember back in the 5th inning with Chisenhall on, he was running and Cabrera hit a fly ball to center field, and Lonnie had to retouch second and scamper all the way back to first. Runner goes again. Throw it on to second base. Not in time. Lonnie Chisenhall picks up his 2nd stolen base of the year. And he's in scoring position with 2 down now for Cabrera.
I like that chance. You go ahead and you send him because you have a 2-run lead here. And you take that chance if he can steal a base. He took off when Cabrera fouled off the pitch before, but he picked the right pitch, an off-speed pitch. He gets in there. He steals his second base. Now he's in scoring position. A base hit could add 1 more run.
And the payoff pitch is swung on and missed. Cabrera goes down swinging. And the inning is over. We'll head to the 8th. Indians 3, White Sox 1. And may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Corey Kluber back out here for the 8th inning. He's sitting right at 100 pitches on the afternoon. 63% have been strikes. He has fanned a career-high 12. And he's got Tyler Flowers to lead off the 8th. Cody Allen up in the Indians bullpen, and he's ready if needed. Outside, he misses. Flowers was called out on strikes back in the 5th inning, and that was the 7th consecutive strikeout in the game for Kluber, which set a new Indians record. And the next man up, Lurie Garcia, went to a full count before he walked.
He was down in the count 1-2, and I figured, you expected him, but he took a really close pitch on the outside corner.
And what's interesting about that is had Garcia struck out, Diaz struck out after him, so that would have been 9 in a row. Had that played out that way, but it did not. It has not deterred Kluber, though. Now the 2-2 to Flowers. Hit right back to him, knocks it down, recovers, and got him.
Nice. Didn't panic. Didn't panic. You know who's running. The catcher's running. He's not going to, bust it down the line. He's going to give it his all. But that thing went off the glove, in between the legs. He knew he had time. Gets it over there just to get the out. Garcia, the hitter right now, is the only White Sox player that hasn't had a swing and a miss today in the lineup.
He's going back to the dugout. What's wrong with you guys?
Yeah, well, you can't get everybody to swing and miss, but he's done just about perfect. 8 out of the 9.
That'll even the count of 1-1. Tries to bunt, but the bat was never in fair territory. Now Kluber with a 1-2. Swing and a miss. He strikes him out.
Everybody has a swing and a miss.
That's 13 on the afternoon for Kluber. 2 down in the 8th, and it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Started in the 3rd inning.
Yeah, that cutter's been unbelievable.
And it went all the way through the 5th with 2 outs when he fanned Tyler Flowers. 7 straight strikeouts for Corey Kluber, a new Indians record. Ground ball to second. Ramirez throws him out. And Corey Kluber with a dominant pitching performance here this afternoon. A career-high 13 strikeouts. The Indians right-hander here this afternoon.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for Indians Live. It's coming up next. Brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care.
Dominant.
Daniel Webb will pitch for Chicago. He'll face the bottom third of the Indians order here in the home half of the 8th. As John Axford will begin to loosen now in the Tribe bullpen.
Webb is coming on for the 11th time. 1-0 record, 287. We did get to see him pitch a little bit. He's got a great arm in Chicago. Opponents hitting just 218 off him, 13 punch-outs in his 15 2/3 innings.
David Murphy takes a strike over the outside corner. Grounded to short, and Alexei Ramirez throws him out 1 away. In-game box score brought to you by your Hyundai dealers. The key for the Indians today, George Kottaras. 2 homers in his first 2 at-bats as an Indian. That's the first time that's ever happened in franchise history, as far as we can tell. And also a 2-out RBI hit by Lonnie Chisnall. Upstairs with it. 2 balls, 2 strikes the count on Ramirez, who is 0 for 3 today.
Yes.
He did not go, says the third base umpire.
Thought he did.
And a full count.
Check it out from the side. Close. Gets the call. Will live for another pitch.
Hard hit grounded to short, and Alexei Ramirez again equal to the task. 2 down.
He's fun to watch play shortstop. Very good.
You know, Rick, I always remember Herb Score saying, every time you sit down and do a ball game, you never know, you might see something you've never seen before. And here today, got a chance to see George Kottaras homer in his first 2 at-bats as an Indian. That's never happened for the Indians before. And Corey Kluber strikes out 7 consecutive batters. That's never happened before for the Indians.
He tied the game at 1, and then he adds on, so big part of the ball game. Yeah, that's right, 2 things, and he was a part of it.
I think what's also interesting about George Kottaras, growing up in Canada, the high school that he went to in Markham, Ontario, didn't have a baseball team. So he grew up playing fast-pitch softball.
Yeah.
Didn't start playing baseball until he was 15 years old. And that still made it to the major leagues.
That fast-pitch softball's a different sport. That's big up in Canada and up there in the East.
He even said, I had to kind of learn baseball from scratch. Yes, there are some similarities, but
no, you got to have that uppercut to hit that rising fastball from those guys that can throw it underhanded.
Just ask Zap.
Yeah. It's a little different brand of baseball or ball, period.
Yeah. Well, and they're like right on top of you. Because what are the bases there? Are they 45 feet? Yeah. Webb's 2-2 pitch to Kottaras. A little bit low and a full count. And the payoff pitch. Ball 4. So his day in the sun continues as Kottaras takes first with 2 down here in the 8th. Jimmy Hanlon has the Golf Zone tonight. He'll bring you all the highlights from the Wells Fargo, take your calls and emails, give you great tips on how to help your game. It's the Golf Zone, and it tees off tonight at 8 on Sports Time, Ohio. Top of the order, and Nyjer Morgan. He's 1 for 4 with a double. And a base hit in the right field. Kottaras will head to third. And he'll go in standing. Nyjer Morgan with his 2nd hit today. And the Indians trying to do it once again with 2 outs.
Yeah, that's been the theme of the day for the offense. They haven't been able to take advantage of it back in the 3rd when Chisenhall got a 2-out base hit to drive in the 2nd run in that inning. Other than that, they've had opportunities. They haven't been able to cash in. 6 for 13 with 2 outs today are the Indians hitters.
And Nick Swisher looks at a ball outside. Throws a ball over toward first. Didn't have a lot on it, almost like he tried to steer it over there and nearly threw it away. Kottaras at third with Morgan at first. And Swisher looking at a 1-0 pitch coming. And it's going to go foul. Liner off the glove of Ramirez. Will he recover in time? He will. And the inning is over. So we'll go to the ninth with the Indians clinging to a 3-1 lead. To stay tuned for Indians Live, brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. The American League saves leader, John Axford, with 9 on the year. We'll look for number 10 here this afternoon. You'll have to go through the meat of the order. 2, 3, and 4 due up for Chicago.
That's how it usually comes down, doesn't it? After a brilliant job by Corey Kluber's 8 innings, 3 hits, gave up 1 run. That was a solo home run to Abreu. Couple of walks, 13 punch-outs, setting a tribe record 7 straight during the course of this game.
Gordon Beckham will lead it off here in the ninth. He is 0 for 3 in the ballgame. 2 for 11 in the series. Axford's pitch is low for ball 1. Two and 0. Three and 0 the count here to Gordon Beckham. And he walks him on 4 pitches. Oh, boy. Now you got Jose Abreu coming to the plate. Keys to the game brought to you by Akron Children's Hospital. Corey Kluber, well, I'll say he was something else. 13 strikeouts, a career high, franchise record 7 in a row at one point. And the Indians got the offense today from George Kottaras with 2 homers in his first 2 at-bats in an Indians uniform. Now he's behind the dish trying to guide Axford through this 9th inning, and he's yet to throw a strike. He's going to go out and talk to his fellow Canadian.
Well, you know, he's trying to throw strikes because you get that one base runner, and it does bring the tying run to the plate. And you've got the most dangerous man in the league right now. He's been all or nothing in this series. He's had 2 HRs and then 14 swings and misses. So when he's put in play, it's left the yard.
It's 2-0. Axford came in last night, and he was lights out. Worked a 1-2-3 9th inning. Abreu was not going to spot him, and he went after a 94-mile-an-hour fastball with a vengeance.
Well, he tried to tie the game up with one swing. He had the count in his favor. Why not? That was just a little elevated up out of his zone, but he was going to try.
Out of play to the right. 2-2. Abreu, the tying run at the plate here in the 9th. And the 2-2. Popped up foul, out of play. Abreu homered in the first and then struck out each of his last 2 times up against Kluber. Axford ready with the 2-2. Out of play again. There's Beckham, who had a 4-pitch walk. Swing and a miss. Boy, he took something off and had Abreu fooled. 1 down in the 9th.
Well, Axford usually goes fastball, curveball. That was an off-speed pitch, and I'm thinking that's a slider. He does throw a slider, and he has a change, but he will come back to it. But usually fastball, curveball mix looks like a slider to me and gets a swing and miss.
He had just enough taken off of it that Abreu was out in front. And after all those fastballs, you could see why. Adam Dunn, 0 for 2 with a walk here today. Dunn in 3 tries has a strikeout. No hits against Axford. Up high with it. More times than not, Dunn will make you throw strikes.
There's no doubt about that. He walks a lot, he strikes out a lot, and he can hit home runs if you make mistakes.
Axford trying to find that command. He's 3-1 to Dunn. And now a full count.
Well, Dunn, an excellent low ball hitter, but he goes belt high. Then he gets the swing and miss. And Dunn was trying to tie this game up like he should have.
Now the 3-2. Did he go? No, says the third base umpire, Chris Guccione. And Axford has walked 2 in the inning, and the White Sox now have the tying run at first base and the go-ahead run at the plate.
He didn't go.
Look at a pinch runner now for Dunn. And this is going to be Moises Sierra, who they just added to the roster today. We saw Moises Sierra earlier this year when he was here with the Toronto Blue Jays. They just picked him up after they put Adam Eaton on the DL. Now Viciedo looks at a ball up high. Cody Allen is back up in the Indians bullpen. As Viciedo goes swing and a miss.
Well, he's challenging them, and they just happen to be swinging through it. They're 1 for their last 23 with runners on base in the series. Chicago.
The 1-1. Up high with it. 2 balls and a strike. Now Axford's just trying to find his command here in this 9th inning. That was a good pitch, and it's 2-2. I don't know why Viciedo didn't like it. He maybe thought it was inside, but
he might be mad at himself because he didn't swing at it. He didn't offer at it.
Two on, 1 out. And the 2-2 pitch. Hit to right field and hit well. Murphy is back and it's gone. And the White Sox get up off the deck and get a 3-run homer in the 9th to take the lead. John Axford walks 2 in the inning. And those are the mortal sins for a closer.
Yeah, this guy we told you earlier can hit it to any part of the ballpark. He stayed back on a fastball away and drives it out to right field. And Viciedo very strong. His 2nd home run. But boy, it could not have come at a better time for the White Sox. They take a 4-3 lead.
So Viciedo picks up Chicago in a big way, and all that great work by Corey Kluber just went down the drain. He's got a no decision now. And for John Axford, he still needs 2 more outs. And critical that he keeps it now at 1 run. Zipchinski getting loose. Cody Allen's ready to go if needed, or I should say if called upon. Alexei Ramirez 0 for 3 in the game, but now the White Sox have turned the tables on the Indians with a 3-run homer by Viciedo. Just his 2nd home run his 2nd home run of the year. Slow breaking ball out in front, 0-2. Looking ahead to the bottom of the ninth, it'll be Brantley, Santana, and Chisenhall due for Cleveland. Right now, Axford needs 2 more outs to get out of this inning. Punched foul. Chicago closer Matt Lindstrom getting loose as Ramirez fouls it back. And the 1-2. He strikes him out. 2 down in the inning. And it will bring up Jordan Danks. Terry Francona is going to make a pitching change now. So with 2 outs in the ninth, we'll see if Chicago counters with a pinch hitter, although with Danks defensively, they probably want to keep him in the game.
Yes, sir.
In any event, Mark Zipchinski's coming on when we come back. White Sox now leading it 4-3. And Chicago leads it 4-3.
The life of a closer. You know, you go out there, you get it done, 1, 2, 3, and he was 9 out of 10 coming into today. He's lights out, but now you give up a couple of walks and then the 3-run big fly and give up the lead. So Zipchinski's going to come on and try and keep it a 1-run game, and the Indians will have a chance in the ninth.
Jordan Danks 0 for 3, has struck out all 3 times in the game, 0 for 6 in the series. Swings at the first pitch. In the right center field, David Murphy's there to grab it. We'll go to the bottom of the ninth here at Progressive Field. Last year, the Indians reveled in walk-off wins, in particular against Chicago. Can they muster up some more dramatics? Find out next. The story of the day was Corey Kluber, who went 8 innings and struck out 13 Chicago batters. A new franchise record, 7 in a row at one point. He had used up 110 pitches, and so thus the debate in the dugout, what do we do? Do we send him back out there, or do you go to your closer? They go to their closer, and John Axford didn't have it today. Walked 2, then gave up the 3-run homer, and now Chicago has a 4-3 lead.
Yeah, Kluber was unbelievable today. I mean to tell you, career high 13 punchies. He only gave up 3 hits, the 1 home run, and boy, that's a shame. You worked that hard, but that's the way the game goes. Now they got to come back and try and win it here in the bottom half of the 9th.
Matt Lindstrom has saved 3 out of 6 so far. 7 strikeouts, 7 walks. Michael Brantley will lead it off. He's 1 for 4 today. 5 hits in the series. And a routine bouncer to second. 1 pitch, 1 out. So that'll bring up Carlos Santana, who is 0 for 3 in the game with a walk. And Santana now 2 for 11 in the series. Oh, and 2 the count on Santana. It might have been a little high. It was over the plate for sure. And Lindstrom's got him down on the count 0-2. That nearly hit him. Lonnie Chisenhall waits on deck. And another routine ground ball. 2 down. Now the Indians offensively, I mean, they got 2 runs in last night's ball game, and one of those was a gift run on a drop pop up on the infield. Today, they got 2 solo home runs from George Kottaras. Outside of that, though, not a lot to talk about offensively. Lonnie Chisenhall does have 2 hits, make it 3 on the day. So he'll keep the Indians' hopes alive here in the bottom of the 9th.
Chisenhall continues, man, to stay aggressive, puts this ball right back up the middle. The Indians still alive. Into center field for the Indians. That's their 9th hit. They have left 11 men on base today. They have had opportunities and just couldn't cash in. They're down to their last out to try.
No, Asdrubal Cabrera has not had a real good day at the plate. He's 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. And he's also flied to center. Fouled right back to count quickly 0-1. Lindstrom has thrown 7 pitches, and 6 have been strikes. He wanted that pitch inside, and he missed all the way on the other side.
Sure did. You see where Flowers were sliding in. That ball got away from him.
In the dirt, gets away, and now Chisenhall, the tying run, is in scoring position.
How about that for a break? That's got to be a pass ball, doesn't it? That ball, I don't think, hit dirt. Flowers just flat out missed it. You look at it, I mean, it's catchable. There's the tying run getting into scoring position, and he boxed it up. So base hit now, and the Indians could tie it up. Now they'll go out and talk about the signs with a runner on second base.
Two down in the bottom of the ninth. Tying run at second base. 2-1 count on Cabrera. And now the Indians are down to their last strike. Two-two pitch. Strikes him out to end the game. Cabrera fans for the third time in the afternoon, and the Indians leave the potential tying run in scoring position. Boy, what a stunner as Chicago comes back to win it by a final score of 4-3. They avoid the sweep, but just like in Chicago
on the getaway day
against John Axford, they get him in the ninth and turn victory for the Indians into defeat. So with the win, Chicago goes to 15-17 on the year. The loss drops the Indians to 13-18. And for Chicago, the win is going to go to Daniel Webb, and that'll be his second. He's 2-0. The save to Matt Lindstrom, and that'll be his fourth. And the loss goes to John Axford, who suffers his second. Time now for our key play of the game, brought to you by KeyBank.
Well, that's the ninth inning, no question about it. After two guys were on, Axford had 2 strikes on him, but Viciedo gets a fastball up and away, and he shoots it into the right field seats. A 3-run home run, and they took the lead. They were down and out, and you didn't think they had a chance, but the base runners there, they take the lead, and that's going to be our key play of the game, brought to you by KeyBank.
Boy, this is just a kick in the gut, the way the Indians were closing in on a potential sweep and really getting some momentum going. It goes the other way in the ninth, and the White Sox get out of town, salvaging the series finale. We're going to come back and analyze it further on Indians Live, brought to you by Conrad's. That's coming up next.